Look into my eyes and show me adventures I haven't seen. Taking all the life, it hits the spot. Walking on fantasy. So take me, baby, take me to a state of mind.
What's up, guys? I'm Kevin Nahai. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And on today's episode, 5 tips in 5 minutes on communication. Good, effective communication. Because the success or failure of all of our relationships with friends, with family, significant other, dating, business, no matter what the situation is, it all comes down to how effectively or how poorly we communicate. So having studied this for years, I'm going to give you my best practices. Tip number 1, listen. Don't just hear the person, actually listen to the person. Talk less, listen more. As they are talking, focus on them. Relate what they say back to your own experience, but don't spend the whole time yapping about yourself. Ask follow-up questions. Ask them more about themselves. Make them feel like you are actually listening and you actually care about what they are saying. Tip number 2. Know your audience and craft your message accordingly. What do I mean when I say know your audience? What I mean is that the way that you communicate with your mother is different from how you communicate with your boss or your best friend or your significant other, right? So when you are sitting across from somebody, you got to know who that person is, and you have to craft your message in a way that they will be open to receiving it, right? Good communication is not just about blurting out whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. Good communication is about saying what you want to say in a way that is tailor-made for the other person to be able to take it in, listen, and understand. Tip number 3, body language. Body language comes down to 2 things in my opinion. One is eye contact, and the second is posture. So, when you're talking to somebody, look at them in the eye and try not to break eye contact. There's nothing worse than having shifty eyes looking around at everything else in the room. That is the perfect way to make the other person feel like you really don't care about them and you'd rather be somewhere else. And posture, when you're in a conversation, have an open, warm, inviting body posture. Don't be closed off. Don't be partially turned. Stand square to them. Open and invite them. And make them know that you're here, you're not going anywhere, and you're engaged in this conversation. Because human beings, whether we register it consciously or not, are incredibly good at picking up on those subtle cues, such as our posture and our eye contact. Tip number 4, be responsive, don't be reactive. This will especially help you if you're in a fight or an argument. What I mean when I say don't be reactive is if somebody says something that upsets you, don't immediately and impulsively jump down their throat. Take a walk around the block, get a cup of water, do whatever you have to do so that you can respond thoughtfully rather than just flying off the handle and reacting and saying something that later you are going to regret. Another part of not reacting is don't write an email, make a phone call, or send a text message when you're angry or when you're anxious. I've made this mistake a million times and it always makes things worse. So take a minute and make sure you respond. Don't react. And tip number 5 is that, unfortunately, first impressions matter, okay? What you gotta remember, especially if you're in a new situation with somebody who doesn't really know you, is that all they have to go off of is what you present. All that they need in order to make a snap judgment about you, about whether or not they like you, whether or not they trust you, is what comes out of your mouth. So you gotta be strategic about this. You have to be humble, you have to be kind, you have to be warm, complimentary, affectionate, inviting, right? Because if you come across as bitchy or cold or arrogant or cocky or any of those things, nobody wants to have a relationship with somebody who comes across that way. And unfortunately, they may not know the real you. They may not know who you are deep down because they haven't had enough time with you to discover those other qualities. Now, I'm not saying that you should be disingenuous, that you should put on a front, put on a facade to try to make yourself seem like something that you're not, right? That's not the advice that I am giving. What I am saying is that an effective strategy for good communication is basically that these first impressions matter, so you have to be careful about how you present yourself. You do want to come across as likable. You do want to come across as trustworthy. You do want to come across as somebody that is worthy of the other person's time, because you are. You are an awesome, beautiful, good, kind, loving person, and you just have to make sure that that light shines through on the initial interaction. So anyway, I hope these 5 tips helped. Practice your communication, and I will catch you guys on the next video.